Okay, so to start with figure 1, they want us to trace our dartless sleeve. So you have to remember the dartless sleeve, I believe, is on page 309. So I still have mine here. It's really just the same sleeve except the underarm seam goes straight down. They want us to trace this, and then they want the sleeve length to only be 1.5 inches below our bicep line. So we are on half scale. So what is half of 1.5 inches? Let's see, if you said 3/4, you would be correct. Okay, great. Okay, so I'm just gonna trim this bottom part off so that my sleeve length will be 3/4 inch long. Okay. Okay, so here we go. They want me to trace this guy, so I'm going to go ahead and trace it to my paper. Okay. Okay. So they want us to measure in 1/2 inch at our underseam. So 1/2 inch. Half of 1/2 inch would be 1/4 inch. And right now we're drafting the back petal sleeve. So I'm only going to measure 1/4 inch on this side. The double notches represents that it's the back. We're going to do the front in a little bit. So anyways, so they want me to mark in 1/2 inch. So half of 1/2 inch is 1/4 inch, 1/4. Here we are. And then they want me to angle that for my underarm sleeve. Their illustration kind of looks like a curve. I probably could have used the ruler to make a straight line. Okay. Great. Now let's see here. Draw a line to the corner of the sleeve. Oh yes, we did that already. Okay. Now, A to B. This point here is going to be A, and B, they want it to be 5 inches, so half of 5 inches is 2.5. Okay, so 2.5 is right here. Make sure it's in the right spot. Okay, yeah, 2.5. And then that's going to be B. A to C, they just call out 3.5. So I think that's a design preference. I don't think it has anything to do with fit. So, you know, if you are somewhere you don't have your book, I would just kind of eyeball where you think is a nice place for the petal sleeve. But we can follow their measurement. Our half scale would be half of 3.5, which half of 3 is 1.5, and half of 1/2 is 1/4. So I believe that it comes to 1 3/4. I should have used my measuring tape, shouldn't I? Okay, so 1 3/4 was a little bit further than my eyeball design. Cool. Now they want me to draw a petal style line. Okay, so if you have a ruler, go ahead and use it. I don't know, let's see. I mean, I kind of just want to eyeball and draw it. I don't know if my ruler's really going to help me. I feel like that guy's too thin, this guy. Maybe right here. I don't know. I'm just gonna draw it and see what happens. Kind of just lightly. There, I like that. Let's see, do we have that shape on my ruler? Kind of. Maybe like right here is nice. Okay, I like that shape. But then as I get closer up here, I want it a little straighter. Okay, I think that looks nice. Cool. So all of this is going to be tossed and thrown away. Now they want me to continue tracing up here on my paper, because this is going to be my back sleeve, and they want me to draft the front one on this paper underneath here. So they want me to mark my front notch. Okay. Yeah, so then they said I could cut this guy out. Okay, so I'm going to cut that guy off. So this is my grain line, and this is my back. This is my petal sleeve. Okay, you can put how much to cut, the date, all the good information. Okay. Now, let's see here. They want us to basically trace this for the front here. Okay. So now this is going to be the grain line. Make sure we keep that. This is our petal sleeve, and this will be the front. And then all they really want us to do is just trim a little excess right here around the armhole. And then that gets tossed in the trash. So that's really, other than that, they're the same piece. Okay, so now I'm gonna cut that guy out. Okay, figure 3. They want me to align my underarm seam and retrace the whole pattern, draw my grain line, cut, and I'm ready to go basically. Okay, so let's take a look at this. So here is my back. It's so funny, in the book they have it illustrated that the back is here and the front's here. So that's fine. The only thing that I don't like here is that it kind of goes up, so I think I'll just kind of, gosh, I need to kind of fix that, so I might have to fix my curve. Yeah, that's the only bad part. But if I do this, I'm gonna flip it around. Oh, here we are. Here are my grain lines going straight up and down, and then I would be adding a little bit at the hem. So that doesn't really look like that's what they did. It kind of looks like they moved their grain line, because if you look at this, if I were to trace this, this is a much sharper curve than what's pictured or illustrated in figure 3. To me, figure 3, it looks like they kind of join their underarm seams somehow and then traced it. But when I do that, it makes our grain line basically close to the bias, and maybe that's good. Maybe that will actually give it more flutter. I'm not sure, the book doesn't talk about it, so we can talk about it instead. I think it could be an interesting experiment to go ahead and cut out one sleeve where your grain line is basically now moved to be on the bias a little bit. It's not the perfect 45-degree angle though. Or should we try cutting one out like this and then just adding more fullness at the hem to get a little flutter? I wonder if there's a big difference. So, you know me, I'm probably gonna actually test out both and sew it up and just compare and contrast for fun, right? But you could do either option. I don't mind, and we're in a class, and I think it'll be really neat to see the way everyone's sewn up, and we can compare and contrast. Okay, so I am gonna have to cut out 2 of my back bodices. I can cut 1 front bodice on the fold, and then 2 sleeves. And again, for the experiment, I cut out one of my sleeves where our grain line stayed true to our pattern, and then I cut out the other sleeve where our illustration kind of matches the book, but our true grain line got moved. And we're just gonna compare and contrast, see if there's any difference at all. So I'm gonna grab fabric and cut all this out. Okay, so I sewed my bodice together and I just left the back open, and now I'm gonna try to sew my sleeves. When you guys sew these, you have to remember that right here is the underarm sleeve. You don't have to sew your underarm because we've already connected it. Same here. So, so you're gonna do right sides together, and it's really important that you did notch which side is the front for one notch, and then two as well. Okay, so I need to put this part right sides together. I'm gonna put this one over here. That way my single notch will line up on my front bodice. And yeah, so I'm gonna start by pinning it in the right position here. And I got my double notches to line up on my back, my single notch to line up on my front. And I'm gonna hopefully sew exactly on this seam line. That's why for these kind of fit samples, I think it's real handy to clearly label your sew line. We're not actually gonna wear this garment, we're just testing out for fit. So, and you know what, I might have to clip my sleeve. You can see how it's getting a little tight. If I clip just the seam allowance portion, not my sew line, but if I clip the seam allowance, it might allow it to spread a little bit so I can stay on my sew line. Relatively easy. Okay, going. Okay, throw in another pin. And then all the way around. Okay, oh boy. There we are. Okay. Oops. You know what? I think I'm gonna open up my seam allowance again, just clipping my seam allowance so that it spreads. Especially since it's so teeny, this little half scale guy. Okay, let's try pinning that one more time. Cool. Okay, now I'm going to do the other side. And it's going to overlap. That's part of the petal. So I'm really actually going to be sewing 3 layers of fabric if you think about it. Okay, cool. Great. I'm somehow going to manage to sew this teeny little armhole all the way around and flip it and then appreciate my petal sleeve. I guess I need to do the same for the other side. So cool. Let's try that. I think I'm just going to start by snipping some of my seam allowance. I don't want to cut my sew line. I just want to cut my seam allowance because it's going to circle. My seam allowance circles smaller than my actual seam allowance, so when it gets bent backwards, it needs to be an even bigger circle, so it really needs to have a way to split and make more space. So, alrighty, cool, that's, okay, great. So same thing where I know my front notch goes on the front and the double goes on the back. So I'm gonna start by pinning right at my underarm sleeve, my side seam. I don't know which one I want on top. Probably you want the back to be on top. So I should actually pin the front part first, and then the back flutter will be on top. I just ran out of pins. Oh, great. Let's see. Okay, I need to go grab more pins. Okay, Okay, I found some more much needed pins, so let's continue this pinning journey that we are on. Okay, so I did the front one first, and then now the back will kind of overlap, come over the shoulder, and then lay on top. I didn't check the other one, so the other one's going to be a surprise. Let's see what I did. Who knows? Okay. Okay, do you guys think I could do it? Do you think I could sew this little teeny line without sewing all the layers? Ah, this will be interesting. I'm gonna give it a shot. Here I go. Okay, well, I sewed it up. Somehow it seemed to work. I do notice that I should have wrapped the back of the sleeve around first instead of the front because I have the overlap on the back. Oopsies. So that was a mistake. So I hope you learn from my mistake, and when you pin your garment, pin it so that the back petal is touching your bodice, and then the front, no, sorry, other way around. The front should be pinned first, and then the back on top of it. Watch my video and just do the opposite of what I did, I suppose. Okay, so anyways, let's go put this on the little dress form and see if there's a difference between these two techniques and if we like one flutter sleeve more than the other, okay? All right, guys, let's analyze which petal sleeve we think turned out better. So, of course, as you can see, oh, my little petal overlap is on the wrong side. Bad pinning and sewing on my part. Here's what it looks like. Can you see a difference? Right off the bat, it kind of looks like one has a little more flutter than the other one, a little bit more drape. Let's check out this side. This side, again, same thing. This looks a little stiffer. And this one just has a little more flutter. So I don't know which one's better. I suppose it's the designer's decision which one they like better. So it's either, do you want more flow, so maybe this is like really pretty and draped, kind of like just fabric that like falls and is like liquidy, and maybe this is better in like more structured fabrics. I don't know, it's up to you. But the one that turned out a little bit more draped, that's this pattern here, the one where I stayed true to the grain line, and then the other one is the pattern that matches the illustration of the book where I changed the grain line to center front. So so change it, you can see it doesn't curve as much. When it curves more, then you get more of the drape, and when it's like the hem is more straight, it curves a little bit, but it's pretty close to the cross grain, it's more structured. So that's kind of an important difference, I think, to take in, and then you can just decide next time you draft a petal sleeve what design you're actually going for. Yeah. Anyways, I think that's our very last notebook sample, which is so exciting. So I hope you enjoyed the petal sleeve, and I'm looking forward to see how yours turned out. Hopefully they're facing the right way.